Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Our guest today is Ashley Dashner. Healthcare is our garden, and we are the seeds, and you can become a flower or you can become a weed. Bloom where you're planted, become an angel full of compassion, where flowers and compassion grow, so does hope. On April 22nd, 2019, twin sisters Ashley and Amanda created Judi's Angels Project. Just 2 months prior to their Grandma Judi went home to be with Jesus on February 22nd. Watching their grandma in and out of three different facilities for unexpected last 27 days of her life, her hope had been stolen by a doctor, and quickly it was noticed that she was wishing for certain caregivers to be working or not to be working. There just seems to be a real lack of compassion in healthcare. The workers that Grams wished for were because that she could tell that they care. Family wished upon certain coworker or healthcare workers because they could tell that they really care. Wouldn't it be nice to create an environment where you don't have to wish for certain caregivers because all of the caregivers care? The scariest thing in the world is to watch your vulnerable loved one being cared for by people who that you fear can't possibly care as much as you do. This project is to remind healthcare workers in the Michiana area for now that we are caregivers and are angels sent by God to make a difference in our patients' lives. We are all Judy's angels, Jerry's angels, and Mary's angels. Hi, Ashley, and welcome to the
Hi.
show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I am so excited. So I first learned about Judy's Angels because I got to be one of them.
You were, yes, you were nominated.
Yes, I was. I was nominated and got to stand in front of these beautiful angel wings and the letter that I got, which we're going to talk about in a minute because I want you
Yeah.
to share the whole Dirty Dancing story. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
tell us all about, so who was Judy, and tell us about Judy's Angels.
Okay, so my grandma, she was the most amazing person, and the day after she passed, I don't know if this is a part of grief because I haven't really had to go through a bunch of loss, but the day after, I just could not help but feel so sorry for the people that didn't end up getting to know her. And we weren't ready for her to leave, and we weren't ready to lose her or for her story to be done. And so I'm so happy that I listened to God and that He told me her story didn't have to end. And I'm so grateful that I get to share her beauty with so many people. We have the Judy's Angels wings. The first one went to Creekside, and I get to walk by those wings every day. And there's a picture of her next to it, and I get to walk by and talk to her every morning. She was a florist, and she would make the most beautiful arrangements. And my sister and I would just sit there and watch in amazement, her putting all these flowers together and how beautiful it would look in the end. And now we get to make these angel wings that are made of flowers in her name. And we just hope and pray she's watching in amazement. She just taught us so much through example, and she showed us to never give up. And no matter what, she always held on to faith and hope.
And how old was your grandma when she passed away?
78. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And she was only in a healthcare facility for about 27 days?
Yeah, yeah, she was in and out. So what started a couple years ago, well, a while ago, she was diagnosed with skin cancer on her eyelid, and she had to have a section of her eyelid removed. And the doctors had told her, they had removed a frozen section, which is a parameter around the cancerous growth. And they were sure that, once they removed it, it wouldn't return. Well, then some time had passed, and a little bit of it had come back. So she went in for a second surgery. And they said, not to worry. They took an even bigger section, and that they got it all that time. They were 100% sure it would not come back. Well, the third time that it came back, you only have so much eyelid to lose before
Right.
it just made it difficult for her to blink. And She had to do eye drops, and it affected her tear ducts and everything. And but after that third surgery, we thought everything was in the clear. So time had passed, and she had ended up finding a lump in her breast. And she went in, and the doctor said they didn't think it had anything to do with her eye, that it was completely different, but they did take the lump out and test it, and it did end up coming back cancerous. So she had the cancer removed, and the doctors told her she'd have to do the chemo and radiation, everything. And when she was taking the medicine to fight off the cancer cells that remained in her breast, her eye became inflamed too. And we all worried, oh my gosh, the cancer's back. Well, not only was it back, but her eyeball was affected this time as well. So then she had to face the hard reality that continuing to fight would mean losing her eye. And, we talked with her, and we said she wouldn't let us give up, but, we're not going to let her give up. She was going to continue the fight. So this all just happened right before Thanksgiving of 2019. So after the surgery, everything, they had removed the eye, and she had done her medicine and everything was in the clear again. We could all breathe easy. We thought everything was done. Well, she started having a difficult time breathing. And so my grandpa called the ambulance one night, and that's when she was taken to Memorial Hospital at the beginning of February of last year. And before family could even get there that morning, a doctor made the decision to give her the news while she lay in the hospital bed all by herself. And he told her that she was terminal and the cancer had moved to her lungs, and that she should really consider hospice. I mean, the sheer panic that my family faced as we all had to hurry up and drive. I'm sorry, I hope I can keep it together. We had to drive to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, my grandma was staring blankly at the wall. And she glanced over at me. She wasn't smiling, and she just didn't look like my grandma. And she said, he signed my death certificate, and I'd be crying if I could, but I can't. I was outraged that a doctor had taken it upon himself to steal my grandma's hope in a matter of seconds. I had so many questions for that doctor, like what gave him the right to decide she was able to take on that kind of news alone? Where was the compassion in delivering such tragic news? Why couldn't he wait until family was present before giving her that kind of news? And I used all my adrenaline and everything to tell my grandma. I've known so many people that were on hospice for years and years, not to give her a false sense of hope, but just to give her a little bit of hope back in, because I just wanted to change the way she was looking. I mean, you could just tell the rug had been ripped right out from underneath her, and she wasn't ready for her story to end. And even if that doctor knew my grandma wasn't going to be able to fight it this time, she deserved to live out her last days a fighter, like she had always done before, and it wasn't his right to take that from her.
I agree. And so did she have to go through any type of treatment at all then, or did they just move her from the hospital into a healthcare facility?
Yeah, they moved her into a healthcare facility afterwards, because they said, there was nothing they could do. She was going to get a PET scan, and they really didn't give us, detrimental information. We thought, she was going to move into a facility. We were going to restore her health. She was going to be able to continue fighting it. But unfortunately, we didn't realize how bad it really was.
And was her health pretty good up until that point?
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing to see somebody so healthy and, walking around, and then all of a sudden they're in a facility, and you're trying to explain to people, like, this isn't my grandma. I think some people just, when you get the first impression of a patient that comes in, you kind of see them and you think like this is their baseline. But it's wild to know, when you know the person and you know what they're capable of, and that this isn't, their reality, that she was walking around, she was doing amazing.
And it's hard when you watch that.
Yeah.
The deterioration of it. And like you said, what her normal is, but nobody else really knew what her normal is. However, when you sit back, because she was pretty much normal and only had that short amount of time that she truly suffered, it is kind of a blessing in disguise, as hard as
Yeah,
it is to look at
I
it that.
agree.
But
Yeah,
at least it didn't go on for years and years and
exactly.
years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, she sounds like an amazing individual. So tell me then why you guys decided to start Judy's Angels.
Okay, so we just think compassion needs to be restored in healthcare big time. Just like that doctor that we had experienced, though he's just one in a sea of many. Um, it's just that I mean, I felt so blessed being able to be right by my grandma's side for the last month, but it was bittersweet because I was able to be her angel. At the same time, I also had to feel the intense vulnerable feeling of having her, having to be taken care of by people who you just can't think, can take care of somebody as much as you can. Um, just like when I would take my kids to daycare, you're dropping them off, you're feeling completely vulnerable that you just hope that they're cared for in the utmost fashion that you would, yourself. And I noticed, she was hoping for certain workers to be working, and I could tell when she didn't want certain workers to be working, and I'd ask, what's wrong with so and so, and she would say, I can tell that they don't care, or I think they're just here for a paycheck. And it was incredibly sad to me that she was dependent upon people who she could sense if they were really wanting to help her or if they were just trying to hurry up and get to the next task.
Mhm.
And I think as healthcare workers, we all have jobs that need to be done by a certain period of time. But I also think it should be in our job description that we should uh, transition through all of our tasks with compassion for our residents, that being the number one priority. You know,
Well, and I think that so many times too, the healthcare workers don't understand that that healthcare worker may be the only person that they see that day.
yeah,
That they
yeah,
don't have that, a lot of times, unfortunately, people are put into healthcare facilities and then they're left there. And the
exactly.
family very rarely comes to visit. And so
Yeah,
that one person may be the only connection that they have to the outside world.
exactly. Yeah.
And I don't
And
think they realize that.
yeah, that's why we need to be 110%. I mean, it's just if we look at it as we're working with machines, we're just going from step one, step two to step three. We're setting ourselves up for failure. Our tone and our presence is it's strongly felt by our patients. They can sense our truth whether we're good seeds or bad seeds. And the fact is, if we're in the healthcare field, our truth should be that we want to help people. We want to go above and beyond. That's why we got into healthcare in the first place.
That's
our
right.
our residents should never sense that we're irritated or that we're mad. They are there. They're with us to get better, and that's all they should be worried about, is getting better.
And
You know,
what is your background? Are you
so
occupational therapy?
physical therapy.
Physical therapy.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. And so you went into that right after you graduated from high school?
yeah. Well, I took 2 years off and then I started. Yep.
And what drove you to go towards a physical therapy degree?
So when I was in high school, we didn't have to take, it was actually an elective. I wanted to take continuing health classes. So it was like a level 2 health class. And in that health class, we had to job shadow because I knew I wanted to go into the healthcare field. I just didn't know what. And so in that class, we had to job shadow a bunch of different healthcare, options. And so I had job shadowed at McDonald's physical therapy, and I knew that that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach people how to walk again. I wanted to teach people how to, uh, you know, start from the bottom and go all the way back up to the top where they were. So,
That's awesome. And
yeah,
that's what's gratifying, right? And there
yeah,
aren't a lot of jobs that you get to do that, when you watch them
no,
come in and they hobble, and then you
exactly,
watch them work on their gait and they can walk clear across the room, where when they came in, they couldn't do that. So
exactly,
there
yeah,
is something gratifying to that. And you wish that more healthcare workers would understand and feel that same gratitude, right? That
yeah,
those
yeah,
little things, the improvements that the patients make, you wish that they could really appreciate that.
yeah. And you would think if we're in the healthcare field that that's why we got in there, but it's amazing to see the lack of compassion
And
sometimes.
so, right. So, why do you think that compassion needs to be restored in healthcare?
So I just, with the whole compassion fatigue, first of all, the compassion fatigue is uh, the best way that I can describe it is when a healthcare professional struggles with their response to the trauma suffered by the patient. So it may be routine for us as healthcare workers to deal with these traumatic events. It's not for our patients, you know. Most of the time, this is their first time that they're having to do